Welcome back to Rated Radio with your hosts Rayburn Alexander and Shane Wyndham. Rayburn, what Billboard hit did we cover this time around?
We covered Fingers Crossed by Lauren Spencer Smith.
Your thoughts?
Reminiscent of some of JoJo's later work, this song is slow, sad, and sweet. A dangerous combo for anyone with a soft heart. 4 stars.
Horrific.
Terrible.
Anything less than a 5. Completely unacceptable. I don't know why I'm talking like this. I think I was going for it's a scary movie episode, but I totally wasn't being scary. It just reminded me more of those action movie.
In a world.
Yes, that sort of thing, yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Fingers crossed, yeah. I definitely get why this song is popular. It's got major Kimbra meets Adele vibes with a well-produced instrumental that sounds like newer Sia or Ingrid Michaelson. Mm-hmm. But this is also part of the problem. I feel like I've heard this 100 times before. It's aiming to be the next driver's license, but just doesn't get there. Everything begins feeling too repetitive, too quickly, and there's no real refrain to be found here. A solid effort, but it's 4 stars for me. I'd also forewarn anyone going blindly into this one that the emotional whiplash in the lyrics is hard to swallow. Things essentially go from "you are my everything" to "you mean absolutely nothing to me now." It makes the whole thing come across as vindictive, and I get that this is how plenty of people cope with loss, but I continue to find it off-putting.
Yep.
And I'm completely out of breath.
You talked a lot.
Shall we,
talk some more?
About movies?
Yeah.
Scary horror movies?
Spooky movies.
Spooky. Roll the intro. So happy that my kids are losing their shit right now in the other room.
At least it sounds like happy screaming and not sad screaming. Are we doing you or me?
We're starting with me.
All right.
I will let you shine at the end. I don't think we do that normally in the specials. And
I'm just used to coming last. Sorry.
I had this thought going through my head about ladies first as like a
gentlemanly thing to do. Or
yes.
Whatever. Yeah. You know what?
The way it came across, oh my God.
It wouldn't make it worse if I didn't have to make almost direct eye contact with you every time I say these things.
Yeah. I stare at the wall a lot just to...
Yeah, I know. I know. My point is to try to make people uncomfortable.
I see.
It's fun for me. Entertaining.
You do a good job.
Thanks.
The first movie from what I picked is Bone Tomahawk from 2015. What did you think, Rayburn?
Well, to give a little bit of backstory, in the Old West, a sheriff, his deputy, a gunslinger... What?
You're doing that thing again that I cut last time?
Where I talk about... I tell them the synopsis. I don't tell them spoilers.
Okay.
They have to know a little bit.
Go for it.
Are you going to cut this?
I don't know. It depends on how you synopsis this.
Okay.
Is it Cliff's Notes or is it...
I wrote this.
There are certain game reviewers I watch online that completely spoil an entire video game.
No.
Okay.
No, and I talk about what I think about it in comparisons to blah, blah, blah.
All right. I apologize for interrupting. Go for it.
In the Old West, a sheriff, his deputy, a gunslinger, and a crippled husband all set out to rescue a group of loved ones from the vicious clutches of a cannibalistic group of cave dwellers. This may offer a laugh, ever so often, usually at the expense of the deputy character, but this story is no comedy. The tale offers the horrors of what it may have actually been like to set out on a journey along the rugged desert back in time. After viewing, I better understand and respect those that have had to trudge the landscape's never-forgiving terrain, and the absolutely terrifying characters and creatures that inhabit it. While beautifully shot, creatively written, and the cast is sparing no expense with their dramatic performances, this is one of those movies that is difficult to suggest viewing twice, such as Requiem for a Dream, Midsommar, or even Clockwork Orange. I strongly recommend having a strong stomach before viewing, and needless to say, this will be one that sticks in my brain for many weeks to come.
Did you rate it?
I did. I rated it a 5, baby.
Damn, okay.
It was a really good movie, but it fucked with my head.
Yeah, think the Revenant scene, or the scene from The Revenant, where Leo gets mauled by the bear. Mm-hmm. It's got vibes like that. Mm-hmm. You definitely, it's not one you're going to want to watch a bunch. Although the genre is ripe for exploitation, there aren't many Western horror films I know of. That makes it all the more surprising that this one is so well done. The cast is full of familiar faces, all acting their asses off. The script, settings, camera work, etc. all make this feel like a solid Western film, which is worlds above what you get from most scary movies. The movie actually takes so much time with lovely character development that you'll likely be lulled into underestimating just how horrific this film ends up becoming. If you want something other than a slow burn, then this probably isn't for you. But if you want a good Western with a truly horrific payoff, then this is a must-watch. It's not perfect or highbrow, but it delivers quite successfully. 4 stars.
A couple of other notes in case you missed it. This is extremely gory. It stars Kurt Russell, which you know from The Thing, Escape from New York, and Tombstone, Patrick Wilson from The Conjuring, Insidious, and Aquaman, Matthew Fox from Lost, Party of Five, and Speed Racer, and Richard Jenkins from Step Brothers, Dahmer, and The Shape of Water. It also has cameos from David Arquette from Scream, Eight-Legged Freaks, Never Been Kissed, and Sid Haig, who we lost last year, which you know from House of a Thousand Corpses, or, you know, in smaller circles, my father-in-law. So, this also got a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes and got a 7.1 out of 10 on IMDb. I also went on to list my favorite and worst kill, because why the fuck not?
Okay.
So my favorite kill would be the sheriff in the end, speculated. That's not a spoiler.
Ouch.
You don't know. And my worst kill, can you guess what would have been my worst kill?
For you?
Yes.
I mean, I think most people are going to agree on the worst kill in this film, so...
Nick, the little other deputy character?
Yeah.
Holy fucking shit, exactly.
Yeah.
I've seen some gory stuff, and I like to say that I like watching scary movies or horror movies. I was not ready for that scene.
Yeah, there's a few scenes like that in certain horror movies, but the setting makes it much more visceral.
Knowing that he can't do anything, and, you know, everybody that's there watching it happen can't do anything either. It's just, and it drags on.
He doesn't die immediately. It's very brutal. Anyway, moving right along.
Sorry.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. Just be prepared for a Western that's gory that you're probably not going to want to watch more than once.
I recommended it to my dad. I was like, this is right up your alley as far as, like, it's a Western. And Westerns aren't typically common for horror movies.
No.
So it was nice to see, which the fucking Wild West is a horror movie within itself. There's plenty of source material that they can take from.
And a great cast.
Mm-hmm. Very good cast. I love Kurt Russell anyway. So.
It's one of those movies where the director clearly knew what he was doing, to the point that David Arquette's acting it's solid. It's not that cheesy, corny thing that you can get from him sometimes.
And it's such a small... It's such a small screen time for him to make such an impact. Yeah. And then, you know, you don't even really know what becomes of his character. It's just sort of whatever, like he's never seen from again. So it's funny.
My second pick was Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse from 2015. What'd you think?
This movie tells the story of 3 lovable high school losers and their quest to overcome an outbreak of zombiaic proportions. Oh, and did I mention that they're all Boy Scouts? After the death of the father of one of the 3 friends at a young age, they pledged their undying loyalty to stick to each other at all costs, even enduring many years of outgrown Boy Scout shenanigans. But when 2 of the friends want out, what happens? Well, not to be dramatic, but the end of civilization as they know it. After some experiments at a local lab go awry, it's up to the last known unsung heroes to step up and save the remaining survivors, which in this case includes an entire building of very drunk high school seniors. This movie was fun, silly, gory, and a little sweet. Even a zombie apocalypse can't break the bonds of this friendship. It must have been their sweet knot-tying skills.
What'd you rate it?
I rated it 4.
Okay. This one's probably going to appeal primarily to cis males, but I love the friendships, the humor, the action, the soundtrack, and the way these zombies still retain some of their human personalities at times. It's what you'd get if you could mix Superbad with Return of the Living Dead.
Yep.
A lot of the style here reminds me of McGee's Babysitter film, which is also awesome if you haven't seen it. This thing ain't perfect by any stretch. The plot's pretty basic. Some of the action is unreasonable or only there for the sake of a given shot. And calling this scary would be a major stretch, but it's entertaining as hell from start to finish. On a personal level, it will always be near and dear to me because I'm pretty sure it's responsible for my wife not wanting our son's middle name to be Augustus. She was worried people would call him Augie. Like the dorkiest character here. And even though I think it'd be awesome to have a kid like Augie, you can't win them all. In the world of cinema, yes, Scout's Guide is lost in an ever-expanding ocean of similar films, but when you want a funny, feel-good ride in the thick of October, it's a reliable romp. 4.0.
Yeah, it was a very, very entertaining movie to watch. A couple of notes that I have. This stars Ty Sheridan, who you know from X-Men First Class and Ready Player One. Logan Miller, who is in Escape Room 1 and 2. Joey Morgan, who is Augie. He was in the movie Flower and unfortunately is no longer living. Tried to look up why. Didn't find anything. So...
well, that makes me sad as shit.
I know, sorry. And David Koichner. I never know how to pronounce his last name. From The Office, Anchorman, and so many other movies. He's the whammy guy from Anchorman. He plays their scout leader. This got, I'm doing ums a lot. Mm-hmm. This got 44% on Rotten Tomatoes and 6.3 out of a 10 on IMDb. The last thing that I want to mention here, just because I feel like talking about it, the dick rope scene.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That and the topless cop scene.
I liked that too.
I'm sure you did.
I liked a lot here. I love that the film kicks off with the dude from Workaholics.
Which leads into my worst kill of the movie. We got a snippet of Blake Anderson giving us the best rendition of Black Widow by Jessie J. And then he is killed at the beginning of the movie. And I'm so disappointed because I love him. He's hilarious. And my favorite kill was Augie's killing zombies. The doorknob kills at the end of the movie. Yeah. I thought that shit was badass.
It was. And you said that actor's dead in real life?
He is. He passed away.
Who he reminds me of, if it helps, if you're looking for something else.
It's the kid from Bad Santa.
No, but I could kind of see that. He reminds me of Philip Seymour Hoffman's kid.
Oh.
Who you can see in Licorice Pizza, which is on Prime Video at the moment, free to watch, and it's fucking exquisite as far as films go. So if you just want to not feel so sad and see that kid somewhere else, and also Philip Seymour Hoffman's son, you know, it's happy on top of tragedy there. Yeah. Really, really good. Anyway.
I know before we moved on, I know we watched a lot of movies this week or this month, whatever we're calling it. But I just wanted to tell you, I finally watched Bad Santa 1 and 2.
Yeah?
Over the holidays. Yeah, dude. I liked it.
You did?
I liked it. And I had never seen it. I knew a lot about it, but I never actually sat down and watched it, especially number 2. Yeah, holds up.
I really like 2. I don't know why I want to watch that movie so much. Like it's cheesy. It's not perfect as far as it's just better than a lot of the second films in most series. Mm-hmm. And Kathy Bates just seems like she's having so much fun.
Yeah, because she's having a lot of fun in that. I also watched Peanut Butter Falcon last night.
Oh, so you're on a goddamn roll.
I am, and I was trying to pick up those movies that you had recommended, but I hadn't. I guess I was like going through these movies. I'm like, he doesn't have as bad of a taste as what I think.
Yeah. So now you have to watch Licorice Pizza and Come As You Are. Mid-90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some picks.
But Peanut Butter Falcon, highly, highly recommend.
Codes recommended that.
Shia LaBeouf, his performance.
Yep.
Astounding. His performance in that made him so much hotter. Like, seriously, like, you fall in love with him.
Moving right along.
Anyway.
The last film that I picked for this was The House That Jack Built from 2018. I don't want to ask this, but what did you think?
This psychological thriller tells the story of a failed architect and vicious psychopath, Jack, as he elaborately orchestrates murders, each as he views them a towering work of art that defines his life's work as a serial killer. At times, this movie holds a sort of Office-like humor, taking you front and center to the very awkward beginnings of Jack honing his craft, Once you reach the movie's climax, all remorse for his crimes fade away from the main character's view. And what we, the audience, are left with is an almost beautifully crafted shell of whatever is left of a person once you begin to realize he was never human at all. The House That Jack Built is one of those strange French cinematic contributions that is a roller coaster of strange proportions from start to finish. At one point, I was even rooting for this monster, which has got to make someone wonder, what sort of house am I building?
Yeah, I'm definitely a little worried about you if you were rooting for him at some point, but I guess there are bits of humor, a little small in the beginning.
The whole scene where he murders the sugar water lady, that whole scene to me was just like, I looked at Blue and I was like, is this supposed to be comical? Is this supposed to be funny? It was just so awkward.
I'm sure it's funny to the psychopath that's doing it, but yeah, I think I get it is what I'm saying. And it's hard with cinema because if you're not connecting, you do feel like that. Well, this isn't real. Maybe this is just comical because it's not real. But if you're thinking of it as real, that's horrific. But
yeah,
I feel what you're saying.
Okay.
What did you rate it?
I rated it a 4.
Okay.
I get the purpose at the end of it. Like, I get it, but it flew right off the rails.
Yeah.
And then I had to look at Blue and be like, what the hell is going on? And he was like, he's going through like the 7 rings of hell. And that's what, because Blue watched it with me. Blue watched all your movies with me.
Yeah.
Because he had seen all of mine. But he was like, he's going through the 7 rings of hell. And there was times leading up to that point where Blue couldn't understand what was happening. And it made sense to me. So The House That Jack Built, I think that there's something in it for everybody, but it is definitely a very creatively drawn roller coaster of proportions.
So I got 2 4s and a 5 from you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And just in case you don't know as a listener, the way I'm rating here, it's a scale that goes all the way up to 5 in quarter increments. Mm-hmm. It's not the same as I rate on the main show. Like with regard to the way I rate movies, I can't go above a 5.
Yeah.
So 5 is truly something special for me. So you hear my 4s, that's different. The House That Jack Built. I'm one of those people who love both Star Trek and Star Wars, but I admit myself much more enthralled by the thoughtful depths of Star Trek than the nostalgic action of Star Wars. The reason I bring this up is that if one were to compare the film American Psycho to Star Wars, then this movie, The House That Jack Built, would firmly hold as the equivalent of Star Trek in such a mashup. This is a watch which aims to disturb you with its pensive edge, and even on the second watch I was ridiculously fascinated by it. At the core, this is a look at some killer's deepening descent into madness, but the killer is much more than your average murderer, reminding me quite a lot of the Trinity Killer from the show Dexter, where personality is concerned, but with a purposely varied MO that's much more in line with the real-life killer Richard Kuklinski, who the film is self-aware enough to mention. It's the Iceman Killer.
Yeah.
Put plainly, it's chilling to watch, and it goes places I'd never have normally expected. Everything feels senseless, random, and unpredictable, even from the killer's perspective. And that's the sort of scary which, regardless of how you feel about where things end up, is apt to leave you more and more afraid to do things like open the door for a stranger than you were before watching. On top of that, I've never quite seen anything like this. And speaking as someone who's been confused with a psychopath numerous times now in the course of my life, I have a particularly strong distaste for and dread of this type of individual. That fact makes the watch all the more horrific for me. I'm obsessed with knowing the tales of secretly dangerous people for my and my loved ones' own safekeeping, but I'm also drawn closer to them by my desire to rid the world of the things which help create these monsters in the first place. I know I'm talking a lot. I apologize.
Oh, you're fine. Don't apologize.
And while I don't buy some of what the film eventually sells, I still deeply admire its work with metaphor and allegory. Even if you choose to avoid the deep dive this offers up, it's still genuinely menacing from incident to incident. In a world of seemingly endless brutality, these scenes manage to stand out, and the mental masturbation offered up in the argumentation between the incidents is completely unrivaled in the genre of horror. It's baffling to me that this film exists, but I'm as happy as I am afraid that something like this can still get made. So if you like intellectual stimulation in your gore, then this one is a gold mine. 4.25.
Needless to say, this movie definitely fucks with your head, but it also demands your attention. I will never hear Fame by David Bowie without thinking of this movie again.
Watching it that second time, I had a feeling you were gonna be fucked by that one.
It made such great use of it. And because of what's happening in some of the scenes where they use it, it demands it.
Yeah.
Like, you have to think about it. This stars Matt Dillon, who is phenomenal in this movie, by the way.
Yes, he is.
You know him from The Outsiders, There's Something About Mary, and Crash, and numerous cameos from others, such as Uma Thurman from Kill Bill, Pulp Fiction, The Producers, and Bruno Ganz from Downfall and Unknown. The true crime is how negligent police officers were in this movie, almost reminiscent of what happened to Dahmer. We all know how the police didn't do what they were supposed to do, and a lot of people died because of their negligence.
A lot of that in the world, too, sadly.
The guy might as well have painted himself red in the town square while beating a drum on this one. This gets a 60% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 6.8 out of 10 on IMDb. My favorite kill is Uma Thurman at the beginning of the film.
Okay.
She was a lot, kind of a bitch, and I love Uma Thurman, so that one was hard, but I looked at Blue and I was like, justified. And then obviously the worst kill, which I'm sure you will understand, the mom and kids.
Yeah.
That was bad.
Yeah, of all the scenes in more, I mean, like I said, all of these scenes kind of stick with you. All of the death scenes do for one reason or another. But that was randomly, like, it was just brutal. You didn't see it coming. That's the thing. This does change gears for every single incident he goes through.
Well, when you get to the character Simple, you have hope in a way. You have hope that maybe he's found love and he's willing to change. It's the same with the mom and kids.
That is one gorgeous actress, by the way.
She's very pretty. She's very pretty. But it's the same with the kids. It teases the idea of hope that, okay, he's done. He's not, which really you're realizing as the scene progresses in both instances, this was kind of his plan all along. Like he never felt anything for these people, and you really get a better understanding when he's sitting in front of the mirror and he's practicing his emotions.
Yeah.
This dude is completely empty.
Yep. For him thinking that he felt something or pretending to have felt something is the same as feeling for him. Yeah. He's a hollow shell. Yeah. That's what you're working with in the film. And Dylan did an amazing job.
And it's not, I mean, I've never seen Crash, but it's definitely not.
You haven't seen Crash?
I haven't seen Crash.
Oh my God. Okay.
It's not something, Dylan touches on a level of acting that I've never seen him do previously. And I think he just knocked it out of the park.
Okay, well, let's take a break.
Yeah, I'm going to need a break after all that talking to talk some more. So let's take a break.
So who chose this list? It was probably me.
You did.
Okay. Yeah, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Gaming songs is what I went with. Let's hear your story.
All right. My selection is White Riot by The Clash. I cannot tell you how many hours I spent listening to this song as a teenager. Back before I realized my true uncoolness, I used to pretend I was the coolest of those pick-me girls that would hang out with only boys. And sadly, my progress on Tony Hawk's Underground and a newfound of appreciation for this song is all that I have to show for it.
Sad situation.
Yeah.
I went with Power by Kanye West.
Oh, such a good song.
I told you that we were going to be discussing him a little more.
Yeah, you're right.
Not counting actual music games or something like Brutal Legend where the guitar is a weapon, my favorite gaming soundtrack is the one found in Saints Row the Third. And the mission where this song is choreographed to play while you parachute into a party atop a skyscraper is something which will forever be seared into my memory. It's also a nice reminder of how good Kanye's music was before he A, became an ultra-religious conservative, and B, somehow topped his South Park caricature by going on InfoWars wearing a full coverage head mask, making a fishnet imitate Netanyahu, and saying he's a Nazi that loves Hitler. Yeah. Suffice it to say that I'm beginning to understand why some people lose faith in humanity. But if you're looking for some mindless fun, then take my playlist into your next gaming session and take a damn break from how insane much of the world currently is. We still don't know what's going on with Kanye.
No, we don't.
But I hope he's okay.
Justified pick. This goes on my, you can find this on my workout playlist here recently. So good pick. Definitely gets you in the mood.
I agree.
For something rude.
Shoulda get you pumped.
Yeah, shoulda get you pumped.
But not Fog Hat for you, so.
Nope.
Moving along. Rayburn.
Me. What's up? How you doing? How's your mama?
My mama she's pretty good, I guess.
Oh, okay. That's good. Glad to hear the family's good.
Let's see how you doing after this.
You are going to tear me a new one. I know it. Anyway, do you want me to list my picks?
No, I'm good. I want to hear what you thought about your first pick, which was Dr. Sleep from 2019.
All right. 39 years after the horror classic The Shining, we can find Dan Torrance struggling with alcohol and remains traumatized by the sinister events that occurred at the Overlook Hotel when he was a child. His hope for a peaceful existence is soon shattered when he meets a young teen who shares his extraordinary gift of the shine. Together they form an unlikely alliance to creatively and psychologically battle the True Knot, a cult whose members try to feed off the shine of innocence to become immortal. This movie was so visually well shot, while still gives you a number of nostalgic scenes that take you back to the original if you do so loved it so much. This for me was an unexpected win, which I have the podcast The Film Flamers to thank for their recommendation. After their episode where they covered this, I then watched the movie, and yeah, they were right. 5 very enthusiastic stars.
Okay. Dr. Sleep.
Dr. Sleep. Tell me what you thought about it, Shane.
At face value, this film seems built for greatness. Based on a book by Stephen King, directed by Mike Flanagan. And you know who Mike Flanagan is? He's the guy who's been doing the Netflix shows.
Yes. Like House on Haunted Hill.
Haunting at Hill House.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Haunting at Hill House. And yeah, I got it.
Yeah. Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Based on a book by Stephen King, directed by Mike Flanagan, sequel to one of the greatest horror films ever made, and it certainly is a good movie. Gripping, imaginative, beautifully written, etc. But it's not without its flaws. Firstly, it's just not scary. The reliance in the beginning and end on the devices of The Shining seem ham-handed right down to the redone Kubrick shots. The villain lacks an origin story. Her anti-hero team smacks of a Marvel movie wherein only 2 characters have any discernible powers. And the notion that someone preying on child predators would become exactly that did not feel remotely believable to me. Still, I enjoyed this ride quite a lot for what it was, a 2.5-hour semi-psychological thriller with horror tendencies. It actually reminded me of my own writing, and I can't be mad at that. So long as you're not looking to be scared, this is above average enjoyable. 4.0.
Okay, I'll take that. Yeah, with Rose the Hats, that's who Shane's talking about as the villain. I think that her lack of backstory adds more intrigue to her character because you wonder how this person became about, how, and I'm sure there is, off of the success of Dr. Sleep, there's probably something in the works about her origin story.
Yeah, the whole Marvel vibe made me wonder if they did this on purpose. I'm sure if you read the book, it's probably there.
Mm-hmm. Like Shane said, the source material was the book Dr. Sleep. This stars Ewan McGregor from Trainspotting, Star Wars, and Moulin Rouge, Rebecca Ferguson from Mission Impossible, The Greatest Showman, and Dune. Do you remember who she was in The Greatest Showman?
The singer who didn't get to sing?
Yep. Yes. And Jacob Tremblay from The Room, Luca, and Wonder. He was the little baseball kid. Yeah, phenomenal actor. I wish I would have gotten to see more of him, but, c'est la vie. This got 78% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 7.3 out of 10 on IMDb. My favorite kill was Rose the Hat. I was going to say how, but let's not do that. It's awesome. Epic conclusion to how that comes about, I think. And my worst kill is Bradley. So
is that the kid?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was sad.
Your next pick, Ghost Ship from 2002.
Okay, all I'm going to say is let me take a mental breather to prepare for what you might have to say about this. But, okay.
Just tell me what you thought.
In a remote region of the sea, a team of boat salvagers are tempted with the chance of a lifetime to recover a lost cruise liner that had been lost at sea since the 1910s. No known survivors were ever found aboard the stranded ship, but the idea of finding real-life treasure is a hard thing to pass up, even when it comes from the hands of a rather sketchy, introverted fellow. But once aboard the eerie, cavernous ship, the crew discovers that the decaying vessel is home to something more deadly and horrific than anything they've ever encountered in all their years at sea.
And what'd you rate it?
I rated it a 4.
Okay.
This movie for me is one of the ones that I hold near and dear to my heart. It was probably my first dip into anything scary. I remember renting this from my very, very small grocery store in where I grew up, Milford. The grocery store doubled as a video rental store. And it was the first one that I actually paid my own money to rent. This falls along the lines of 13 Ghosts. I think that they're similar in a lot of ways too, especially because of, the time, I think, when they both came out. So this is my 13 Ghosts, for those of you that hold 13 Ghosts close to your heart. The CGI is a bit tad dated, but I ain't mad at it. The creative deaths in this movie is intriguing in a way. What did you think about it? I'm going to regret asking.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
This flick has a surprisingly good cast and is better than most films which fall into that late 90s style of horror. Not sure I'd call this horror though, it's more like an action thriller with some horror tinges. The plot has obvious holes, there are consistency issues, it felt predictable, meandering, completely without a moral. While there are creepy moments and attempts at jump scares, it's not actually scary, but the premise is somewhat terrifying. I mean, you're stuck on a ship, an abandoned ship out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. The kills are sometimes brutally fun. It's not overly long. It's better than any other haunted boat movie I've seen. And it's semi-entertaining to the point that I could recommend it for a single watch to any fan of films like, say it with me, Rayburn, 13 Ghosts. Also, I Know What You Did Last Summer, House on Haunted Hill, etc. This reminded me a lot of the movie Anaconda with regard to its style. The entire affair is highly irrational at times, the soundtrack is randomly edgy, sloppily implemented over the mismatched score, and the ending felt both rushed and weak, but it definitely has its moments on the whole, and has its moments is my 3.25.
Okay, all right. Could have been worse. This stars Juliana Margulies from ER, The Good Wife, and The Hot Zone. Emily Browning, a very young Emily Browning, who you know from Sucker Punch, Legend, and A Series of Unfortunate Events. And even Carl Urban, who I didn't even recognize until I went back and watched it a couple years ago. He stars in The Boys, Star Trek, and Dread. So this got a 15% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 5.5 out of 10 on IMDb. My favorite kill would have to be the outdoor ballroom scene at the beginning of the film. Watching that as a kid, it still fucks with me.
Yeah, that's going to stick in my head for a while.
Yeah.
And it's got a great cast. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's entertaining. It's just strange for horror. Like, I was enjoying the actors, more than a lot of everything else that was going on.
Yeah.
Not something like the House on Haunted Hill, the remake, where it's got like Liam Neeson and I think Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Yes. And Owen Wilson.
It's got such a good, that movie had such a good cast, but whatever the fuck they were trying to do with this gothic edge that just felt so...
That's another one I really liked too.
It was so shitty.
I really liked it.
I tried to watch the original too. I can't stand it. This I could actually stand. So
my worst kill was when I got to thinking about what would be the worst thing to happen to me to die out of all the characters. It would probably be Munder. End of the movie. Just imagine being underwater and crushed. I'm like,
I think part of why this may not have resonated with me as horror, like to a high degree.
Maybe my choices are horror adjacent.
Well, yeah. And I watch tons and tons of horror movies, so take it with a grain of salt. My style varies a little. It's not mainstream normally. Mm-hmm. Some of it is.
Yeah.
I forgot where I was going. Oh, Stephen King, Perfect Storm.
Yeah. I
had recently watched that, and that fucked with me to the point that a lot of what happened here just felt like, oh, well, that's kind of better.
Yeah. It can be worse.
Oh, okay. So, your last pick was Midsommar from 2019.
Yes. I'll tell you what I thought about it.
Yes, please do.
After the murder-suicide of both her parents and her sister, Dani decides to travel to Sweden with her boyfriend, Christian, to visit their friend's rural hometown for its fabled Midsummer Festival. But what begins as an almost relaxing retreat quickly dissolves into an increasingly violent and bizarre competition at the hands of a pagan cult. The director does not disappoint when it comes to exposing both the beauty and raw emotion that comes with dealing with the occult, even if it's painted up in very pretty flowers.
And what'd you rate it?
I rated it a 5.
That tracks.
Got it.
I remember seeing this shortly after releasing my debut novel and being upset that the first death sequence was so similar to something in my own manuscript. At the time, I was worried that my opinion of the film had been tainted as a result. Well, that plus all the similarities to 73's Wicker Man film, but my initial impressions still seem spot on. The clash of personalities is itself pretty horrific as well as realistic. And that's what's great about this film. Most things feel like they could actually happen. It's a stacking of beauty and uncertainty alongside tragedy, and it totally works. The cinematography is stellar, the terror builds subtly, the interrelational frustrations are uncomfortably honest, and that's so rare in film that it makes the horror here feel all the more shocking. The script is also a case study in the human propensity for dissatisfaction or mispairing of partners. Again, very subtle and honest in its approach. Essentially, this is far from the average horror film. It's a think piece much more than a gore fest. The questions posed by the film are deeper than usual too. Which nightmare is worse? The one you've been living or the one you've only recently stumbled into? Is survival always desirable? And what makes a community of strangers with alien customs so immediately fear-inducing? Remarkably simple, yet complex. Also highly rewatchable for a horror flick. The last quarter is a bit too cerebral and slow for my liking, but this still ranks among the best psychological creep rides ever. While it's probably too artful for the masses, it's also super relatable. Most of this has been done elsewhere, just rarely this well. If you can't tell, I highly recommend this one. 4.25.
This stars Florence Pugh of Black Widow, Little Women, and Don't Worry, Darling, Will Poulter from We Are the Millers, Maze Runner, and The Revenant, and Jack Rayner from The Peripheral? I don't know. I'm watching the show and I don't know how to pronounce it.
I don't know.
Transformers 4 and Sing Street. One thing that I want to mention is Florence Pugh's phenomenal emotional performance. You essentially get introduced to the character and you think she's nothing but a lamb. And by the end of the film, she kind of becomes a wolf. And I think that the journey that Florence takes us through is one of the reasons why she is one of the best and recognized up-and-coming actresses nowadays. So
I have a strong suspicion that you see yourself in that character.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm going to have to rewatch it with that perspective.
Well,
hold on. I'm not done yet.
You're not done yet.
Got to talk about my favorite and worst kills of the movie.
Oh, go for it.
My favorite kill would be Christian. Maybe you don't know this. I was this close to coming as Danny and Blue coming as Christian for our horror Halloween party last year. But then when I realized how much I would have to actually pay to make a giant flower outfit, I was like, no, I'm gonna do Frankenfurter and Nancy Downs instead. My worst kill of the movie would probably be Danny's parents and sister.
Yeah,
that's fucked up.
Yep.
And it happens very early, so
I'm still shooketh. This came out before my novel did, but I hadn't seen the movie before my novel came out, so it fucked me up.
Yeah, and the visuals.
Yeah.
If they would have just talked about it and maybe not shown us the aftermath of what happened, it may have been a little bit easier to swallow.
Yeah.
But the fact that you see the outcome of that happening, and then you don't get an explanation as to why.
Yeah.
It just happens.
The movie, the entire thing has this creep factor that you get from Hereditary.
Yes.
Like this tragic Hereditary thing, but it's not as beat you over the head, uncomfortable. Like you actually feel good watching a lot of this movie, as weird as that sounds. I'm trying to remember. I think all three of these movies have the same director: Hereditary, Midsommar, Mother,
and Mother.
Yeah,
yeah. I can't remember his name, but I'm pretty sure they all have Aronofsky.
Yeah,
I think it's him.
You can tell, very different, but this one feels like it's the middle ground for those two films, which is nice because it's so sensible yet artful. I don't know. I really like the film. I'd seen it before.
It's a good movie.
I was surprised that you picked it. I just didn't know you'd seen it and that you liked it, I guess was the...
You like that I switched it from Cabin in the Woods to Midsommar?
I mean, to be honest, I love both of those movies, so...
I was trying to pick something somewhat funny, like Cabin in the Woods or like a Tucker and Dale versus Evil sort of thing. But then I got to thinking about it and I'm like, I want to I want to do Midsommar because aside from Requiem for a Dream back in the day, Midsommar was one of those movies that fucked with me until I saw Bone Tomahawk and The House That Jack Built. And those movies kind of messed with me a little bit. So if you got more of those in the tank,
I do.
Send them my way because I'm all for touching on a movie that has a little bit of shock factor to it.
I liked the change in your lineup. I wanted a popcorn film on my side with Scout's Guide. Mm-hmm. So I kind of had that from you with Ghost Ship.
Ghost Ship was my...
So to have 2 in there, that would have felt a little off for me. But The House That Jack Built and Midsommar, very artful and totally my kind of shit. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I was glad to see it there. If I'm looking at averages, by the way, I took it for myself, but not by much, right? I had a 4.08. You had a 3.83.
Yeah.
So.
And you know what? I'm so happy that I sat down and I watched your picks. Like I said, it teased me a little bit to watch some of the other things that you so strongly recommended, like Peanut Butter Falcon, Bad Santa 2. And I mean, I'm not saying that Bad Santa 2 falls in the same category of any of these movies, but it was enjoyable. It was a great watch. All of your picks made me feel something. So thanks for that.
Yeah, thank you. Had never seen Ghost Ship.
I know.
And luckily, I acquired it on a $5 sale on Prime Video, so I didn't have to pay a bunch of money for it. And then I'd been wanting to watch Dr. Sleep, so it actually forced me to watch the movie before I read the book, and that probably is good considering what my life's about to look like.
Yeah.
So
Thanks again, Film Flamers, for recommending Dr. Sleep. We appreciate it.
Yes. Sorry to disagree with your 5.
No, it's fine. I'm used to it by now, dude. Your perspective of a movie holds no candle or grounds. I don't know what you want to call it to what I feel for something.
I get that.
So, I mean, for God's sakes, I gave Ghost Ship a 4, even though I said the CGI's a tad outdated. It was a level of nostalgia, and I've watched it so many times since then, and I still enjoy it.
Yeah, and I think part of why I like doing this sort of thing with you is I know we're going to disagree. I'm happy to disagree with people so long as they're being honest about what they thought. And I can expect that from you, so that's wonderful. Anyway, thanks for tuning into our special. Thanks for being a subscriber. This coming season, you have extra content between every single normal show. So you're going to get something every 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
Just our way of thanking you again. And you're also getting all the old content that people can't just go listen to now. Mm-hmm. So thank you. You already know what's coming up. And again, I apologize to those who may not like my style because that entire next season is going to be mine.
It's Shane's season 9.
But Rayburn will have season 10.
I will.
And I'm thinking we might let a particular listener, a lucky listener, do season 11 in its entirety. All those picks. But we're not there yet. I will say there's a particular mystery that was never solved on the show.
Oh my God.
And if anybody solves it, I'll let you do season 11.
Oh my Jesus.
Sure,
Shane.
why not?
It's been...
No one's going to do it. It's fine.
It's been almost 8 seasons. Let it go. Let the cat die.
I don't want to.
Okay. Finish this up.
That's going to do it for this one. Hit up our playlist on Spotify, visit our merch shop, share our show with your friends. Come find us on social media to let us know what you think. Thanks for subscribing, and until next time, fill your world with music.
Or maybe fill your world with movies.